That's another thing, Mina, that like destiny and I'm holding on. Spurs not winning a European trophy for 41 years. Newcastle, no trophy for 71. Crystal Palace, no trophy for 120 years. All of that.
If only Real Betis did it for you. If only Betis did it.
I wish Betis, I would have added, I had Betis on my list.
Hello and welcome to the EuroLeagues. I'm Conor Mcnamara. Now, I know, I get it, nothing worse than when you tune in for your favourite show and the regular presenter isn't on. But you see, this is the price of success because the recently award-winning Steve Crossman is currently winging his way to Munich for the Champions League final. I'm not going to say that success has gone to his head, but basically he only gets out of bed now for the major events and mere preview shows like this are far below his status these days. He's basically Scott McTominay us. He's gone off, he's doing great things elsewhere, but fear not because the rest of the gang are still here. A big Champions League final week. Hello to Kristof Terreur. Hello, Chris.
Hello.
And this is maybe going to be the weekend that Italy gets another European crown. So great to have Mina Rzouki with us. Hi, Mina.
Hi. Don't say that to Juventus fan.
I know, but come on,
it's
Italian
Inter,
national
Inter.
pride, surely. Sure, Inter, the only team that win the European Cup these days from Italy, right?
My God, they talk about daggers here. Yes, we Juventus only know how to reach the finals. They don't know how to win them.
Yeah,
so let's see if Inter can do
it's
it.
the last step. And already in Munich, you can smell the Bavarian food from here, the scent of the Schweinbraten, the Weisswurst seeping down the airwaves. It's a big week for the hardest working man in show business. Julien Loren, how is it out there, Julien?
Hello, mate. Hi, everyone. It's great here. To be fair, we arrived last night. The children are with me as well. So it's very exciting. Lawrence household before the final, and we just have our fingers crossed, our toes crossed that PSG are going to win it on Saturday night.
All right, well, on this week's show, we're going to take you around all the big stories across European football. Of course, Conte's future in Naples, the new winners in the Belgian Pro League, which actually could be good news for Hearts fans, and more of that in a moment. And we will discuss Erik Ten Hag, a new job, and much to discuss there. But for this week, there's only one place to start because Saturday night, the Champions League final between Paris Saint-Germain and Inter in Munich. And it's going to be a big week. I think this is one of those finals where a lot of people will feel they're kind of happy no matter which team wins. There isn't really a goodie and a baddie here. We know where your allegiance lies, Jules. How are you feeling in the build-up to this final?
I'm a bit stressed, to be fair. I think I would have rather PSG play Barcelona in the final simply because it would have been a very open game of two teams that play similar football. With Inter, they have the experience. They're so good tactically. They have a great manager in Inzaghi. We said it before with Mina, how underrated he is, really, which is hard to understand. And I just think you could see easily a scenario where Inter, who are so good on set pieces, which is probably PSG's biggest weakness, score a goal on set piece. They win 1-0 because they kill the tempo of the game and they know exactly how to stifle PSG's attacking flair and all of that. And we get this very tactical final that is maybe not the most entertaining. And yet in the end is the team with the bigger savoir-faire of those kind of moments and experience that winning. And my young PSG team, full of energy, maybe a bit naive, will come short a little bit. That's my fear.
Kristof, first managerial meeting of Luis Enrique and Simone Inzaghi. And incredibly, first ever competitive meeting of PSG and Inter. It seems bizarre they've never met before, two huge European clubs.
But definitely, don't say big European club and PSG in the same sentence because a lot of people would disagree with that because they've only been recently a decent team in Europe, to be fair. So Jules won't agree with that, I think. But it's strange with the Champions League model that they've never met, to be fair, with all those same fixtures every year again, and that you've never had Inter PSG, to be fair. But yeah, I like everybody, I'm looking forward to that battle between Simone Inzaghi and Luis Enrique. I even like Guillaume, I'm a bit in love with Luis Enrique because not only because Guillaume once mentioned that he was listening to this pod, but because he's like in a brilliant way very irritating for his players. I saw a documentary that he did behind the scenes last season, and you wonder if you want to work under a boss like him. He's so obsessed and he can be so hard with his player. The way he treated Mbappe, for instance, last season too, that was in the documentary. The way he sees football, the way he sees life. He's so obsessed to get the maximum out of everything out of himself too, and he loves it that people basically hate him. He says people have to hate me. I don't mind what they say about him. People must not like me. So I like the man in his irritating way. So really looking forward to what he gets, and it might be his second Champions League win. After he won it with Barcelona. So he's an intriguing character, and that documentary that you was on Spanish TV was gives an incredible insight in the manager. And I think Jules might have lots of stories about him personally, because he's basically the boss at PSG. Before, the players used to be the boss, like Neymar, Messi and co. And now you see that the manager sets the way, and that's the big change, I think, at PSG.
Yeah, you're right, Kristof. This is exactly that. It's a club that used to be run by players, but even before the Qataris took over, even in the 90s, it was the same case. Even in the 80s, it was very similar. And I think you can win like that. I think teams have won like that, with the players being in charge almost and knowing exactly what they had to do and having that kind of mentality within the dressing room. That works. But it also works more, I think, when the manager is in charge and the players do what the manager says and not the other way around. And I think that was the problem before that. It's not that anymore. And this is a team that finally plays as a team, where everybody attacks together, everybody defends together, which is probably why this team is so more likable for a lot of people, the way they play, but also that mentality, the energy, the intensity that they play with.
Very much contrasting build-ups for the teams going into this final. We know that PSG completed the domestic double of the weekend, winning the French Cup, and we know that Inter narrowly missed out on the Serie A title. Mina, from a PSG point of view, they've beaten all the English teams in the knockout stages, so it feels like we've sort of, from this part of the world, seen an awful lot of them. I think John Murray actually pays council tax in Paris now. He's been there so often in 2025. But we've seen Paris Saint-Germain from that Premier League prism. We've seen them from that point of view. Inter are going to be a very difficult opponent, a different opponent to those Premier League teams.
Yeah, it's exactly what Joel said. They are tactically savvy. I do enjoy that Guillaume likes his propaganda of, the dying football of Inter, the solid defenses and those transitions are dying. And we've got to embrace this modern football that only Luis Enrique and anyone who follows Pep does. And I feel comfortable saying that because he's not here to argue back with me, but it's not dying football. I'm just going to put that out there. But I think this is what's interesting about Inter, is that they can play multiple ways. And one of the things is that they don't have the width. That's what I mean. They have it with Di Marco and Dumfries, and we've seen what they can do. But I think Kvaratskhelia and Dembélé are especially interesting on the wings and what they can do. But Inter can play, they're a chameleon. They can play many different ways. They are so comfortable in holding possession, in counter-attacking, in defending, in attacking. I think this is such a complex side because you've even got centre-backs that can assist and score goals. So this is one of those teams that it's difficult to really overcome them. And even though they're old and they keep mentioning time and time again that they've played 19 more games than the likes of Napoli, this season, and they are somewhat running on empty at the moment, that when it came to Barcelona and they had to find that winning goal, they found two. They found that goal to equalize and then managed to get another one to win the game. That shows you a certain level of a winning mentality that they just haven't had necessarily in their domestic competitions, but certainly they've put all their eggs into this Champions League basket and they're absolutely desperate to go there. And when you find players like Mkhitaryan putting in these types of shifts and games, then this is going to be a very interesting game between two very wily coaches. The one thing is that obviously when Luis Enrique has reached the final, he's won trebles. And so this is just another chance to win a treble. And Inzaghi is just looking to win this European competition for the first time, and for Inter for the first time since 2010.
You mentioned Henrik Mkhitaryan there. Quick quiz question for you all. I'll be disappointed if you don't get this one, all of you. Mkhitaryan aiming to complete the full set of the major European trophies. He's won the Europa League with Manchester United, scored in the final against Ajax. He's won the Conference League with Roma. Can you name the other player who's won all three? So the Champions League, the Europa League, and the Conference League.
I've got the answer, but
I'll be so pleased if I
stump you.
stump
A bit
you.
of time for Mina and Kristof and the listeners to find it.
Shall I give some hints? Will I give the clubs?
I mean, Mina really is the
player...
one that should find him.
No, I do know, but my mind's gone blank.
I'm gonna tell
Give
you
me
that
the
the
name of
player
one of the
won-
clubs.
One of the
what do
clubs
you want?
is
Do you want
Chelsea.
his first name as well? Like, how much clues do you
I
want?
said name me the one of the clubs that he's won a trophy with.
Okay, Chelsea. Oh, yeah, couldn't on the same.
And another club is West Ham.
I mean, come on, Conor, that's too much now, surely.
Right, go on, Jules. Put him out of their misery.
You sure?
Yes.
Emerson Palmieri.
Emerson, exactly.
But
Yeah, but he didn't play.
One-
I know, but he's still got the medal.
Okay.
And that's what they say.
Well,
They say
but
so
what's
he's
different
won the
with
competition, he's
Mkhitaryan
got
is
the
he's
medals.
actually playing.
Mkhitaryan could start the finals, yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
which no one has done. No one has done before.
And for
just
Luis
going
Enrique
back,
as well, that treble is 10 years ago. Sorry, Con. That treble is 10 years ago. And I saw him last week and we had a little chat, lovely chat. And I said, do you believe in destiny? Because right now, for all the tactical preview that we can have and explain everything, the strengths and weaknesses of both teams, in all football fans or all footballers and everything, there's always a bit of that kind of destiny and things and you hang on to, right? This is the 5th final in Munich here. I mean, somewhere in the old stadium, the Olympic Stadium, and some of the new ones, obviously. But the first 4 finals always crowned a new winners, right? So Forest, Marseille, Dortmund, and Chelsea, the last one in 2012. PSG will be the first time winner for Inter. We said they won 3
Well,
already.
you're just looking for anything.
Anything, Mina. Also, the fact that Luis Enrique won that treble, he said 10 years ago. 10 years is a good number. And I said to him the other day, I said, tell me you believe a bit in that kind of destiny, right? Everybody is a bit superstitious. And he goes, yeah, this could be karma. So I'm like, get in, come on.
So any team that wins a Champions League final in Munich, they win it for the first time. That's
right.
the omen that Paris Saint-Germain are hoping. Go on, Chris.
Well, I was watching a Champions League documentary just to prepare, and I saw those images of 2015 when Enrique won it for the first time with his daughter that sadly died a few years ago, was waving the flag, and now he started talking about it for the first time in those documentaries. So that was those emotional kind of things will be there too in that final, I think. So for him, he says that he has moved on. Basically, he goes forward, but still in the back of his mind, those images, it's something that a family will always look back at. To be fair, so there will be an emotional side for Enrique too when he wins it. I think with those memories that drives him drives him forward. I think.
Now, let's be fair. A lot of neutrals really hoped that Lamine Yamal would get to this final, and it was like killing Bambi to knock him out in the semis and breaking hearts everywhere. Who's going to step up as the sort of superstar? Is this Dembele's year, given the form that he's been in? Who do we think is going to step forward and sort of be the headline grabber on Saturday night?
Well, Achraf Hakimi is facing his former side, and I don't know why he hasn't been mentioned as one of those stars, because I think it's man of the match against Arsenal. He's been superb throughout the season. He's facing his old club where he learned so much and really elevated his overall game. So I think that he's somebody that could really make a difference. And obviously Dembele. So if Dembele does score the goals or makes the difference and PSG go on to win it, is he the leading Ballon d'Or candidate?
Yeah, I think.
What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I think he will have a strong case. Really, 2025 has been incredible for him, and the transformation. We could look at PSG and the way they started this competition, especially, and the season overall, a bit stuttering, trying to find their way. We're still very much Luis Enrique trying to put that jigsaw together with all the pieces that fitted and where they fitted. And 2025, since that probably January game against Man City still in the league phase at the time, the way they turned things around and the way Dembele, who was moved from the right wing into forced number 9, centre forward position, call it whatever you want, has been just prime Brazilian Ronaldo. Some of the things he does, not just scoring, because he scored a little bit less lately than what he did between January and April, but still assisting, still creating danger. We saw that in the semi-final, in the quarterfinals, the last 16, obviously, he scored the goal away at Liverpool. It's just been incredible. And I think there was a time where the talent was never in doubt because he was always so good, right foot, left foot, everything, the dribbling, all of that, but just not being efficient enough. And now it seems to have got to another level. So I think if he shines on Saturday night in the final, he will have a big chance to win the Ballon d'Or.
I am going to disagree about one thing, because I think a lot of you think that this is a low-scoring game, which is a potential because you are playing against Inter, and everyone talks about Italian steel and defense. But Inter conceded like a ton of goals against Bayern and a ton of goals against Barcelona. So is there a possibility that this is actually going to be a more open match than we've been thinking it could be?
I think, is it like 4 of the last 5 Champions League finals have all been 1-0? The semis are where everyone goes crazy scoring goals.
Yeah.
And the final is that everyone's afraid to make the mistake and to lose the match. What do you think, guys?
Well, with Donnarumma and that performance, and then Sommer and that performance, you're a little bit like, is this going to be defined by the heroics of a goalkeeper? But I don't know. I think this could be, it could be interesting. The only thing that stops me from thinking it could be a high-scoring match is the fact that I think a lot of these all sets of attackers from PSG and Inter don't score as many goals as they should. I think they create many more chances than they end up converting, and that's the thing that stops me. So of course Jules would have preferred to face Barcelona because they actually don't know how to defend at all. But I think it's with Inter, it's going to be that much more difficult.
I've become a cynic towards Champions League finals, where you always have that excitement just before, and then you get a dull game where teams are freezing basically and not playing their best football, and you always have like a heroic goalkeeper performance, to be fair. So yeah, let's see.
I'm just going to write this down, Kristof. So we're going to use this for the 5 Live trail. Dull game. That's the way to sell it.
Yeah, we don't have to. It's always those. Yeah, you build it. It's like, yeah, we have to build it up. We have to make people excited about it. But yeah, once you're there, you always have that feeling that should have done something else. To be fair, so it's not always the best games. But yeah, we will hopefully have a different. This year it will be different. Let's use that as the line.
This is reverse psychology to make it a brilliant final.
There's 2 times, Con, that PSG have struggled a bit in the Champions League this season, but overall, even in the league and stuff, was the second half at Villa Park, where Villa were 2 goals down. I think they were 4-1 on aggregate or 5-1 on aggregate. They just had nothing to fear anymore. So they went at it. They were super aggressive in that second half. Unai Emery put a very physical, strong midfield that got into PSG's face, in Vitinha's face, in João Neves, especially in that midfield, and PSG struggled and didn't know how to adapt really. And then it's the first 20 minutes against Arsenal in the second leg, semi-final second leg in Paris at the Parc des Princes, where Arsenal were again so aggressive, pressed them super high, and PSG struggled a little bit to build up from the back like they usually do and get the ball out. And Arsenal could not do it for more than 20 minutes. It's very difficult physically to do, because PSG are so good at moving the ball around. They've got so much fluidity in their game and so many output. They can play the ball to Hakimi or to Mendes, to Vitinha, to Neves. They can play long to Kvaratskhelia. There's a lot of things they can do. Inter will have to do that, really, if they want to get control of that final. The thing is, Inter don't have the leg to do that. As we said, they're very experienced, but they're also quite old compared to PSG. It's the oldest team in the league, in the competition, against the youngest team in the competition. There's a striking stat that comes from the UEFA website. PSG are the team that have run the most in the Champions League this season. They run 118 kilometers per game in average in the Champions League. Inter, 92 kilometers per game in average. This is 26 kilometers difference between how much you run. And you can just explain that PSG playing super high all the time and trying to press and counter press, and Inter being a little bit deeper and just waiting for you to come at them. And then they get the ball, and as Mina explained before, then have different style of football to go and hit you. But still, it's big. And I think if you don't have the legs and the kind of aggressive style to get at PSG, then they will have the ball. And when they have the ball, that's where they are dangerous. So it'll be very interesting to see kind of that midfield battle and who presses well and how they do it. Because I'm not sure Inter have the legs only to do it for 90 minutes.
You
but
can't
if it
concede
is the
set
sort of
pieces.
beauty of the beast,
And set pieces.
head to head. I think at the semi-final, Inter did so well against Barcelona in that role, who were more youthful, who did run more, who were more sort of attacking minded. Jules, you mentioned that you said it's not been perfect for PSG. They've had a few struggles. I mean, they have, and this is the first season of this new group stage format. I think we're all still a little bit getting to grips with it. But can anyone explain to me, how have PSG lost 5 games in the Champions League this season and still got to the final? I mean, at least Inter being old school, they've lost 1 game. I take that. How do you lose 5 games and still get to the final?
Well, there's that one at Villa Park, the second leg, that they won the first leg 3-1. They were in charge of the second half at half-time, and they lost that one. They lost at home to Liverpool in the last 16 first leg, in a game that they over-dominated them, and they should have never lost that game, but still you can lose it. And then you're right, the other 3 come from the league phase at the beginning of it, where things were just not clicking, just not working for them collectively, individually. And credit to Luis Enrique, it took him a little bit of time, but he made this team grow and he made this team click and be good together, really. And that's how they turned everything probably on that Manchester City second half in January.
I think this is what's so brilliant about this style of competition, the way that it's changed a bit, is that it does give you that leeway to sort of start off badly, because I think that the mark of a good team is not one necessarily that starts the season well, but that comes into the business end at the top level and has really built something as the seasons progressed. If you look at Barcelona, when they did win the treble under Luis Enrique, there was a lot of criticism for the coach in the beginning about the fact that he kept rotating the squad and experimenting with different players to try to find the right team that would then go on and have a plan B as well as a plan A. And the plan B was that they were more of a counter-attacking threat than just a team that knew how to possess the ball and play horizontally. And I think that's what made the difference. You see a lot of the times with Real Madrid, they've gone on to win the competition, even when they have started badly in many of their group matches. They've lost sometimes to really odd opposition that you would never imagine it. But actually the business end is when their fitness kicks in, when their conditioning is at top level, and they go on to win finals. And I almost like the story of how it's been. Obviously, Inter is more consistent. They've been together for many years. This is their La Chance Saloon. But for PSG, it really is the beginning of this project that's coming together. And that's come together much faster than I think any of us ever expected.
I think that sort of battle hardiness at the end of the season is an interesting one. We know how dominant PSG have been domestically over the years. Sometimes when they get to this latter stage of the campaign, it's been a while since they've had to really pull up trees. And maybe having that French Cup final, which I know was comfortable for them, but at least it was a final in the build-up to this, might help them a bit, maybe more than the previous generations, the big superstar names and Neymar, etc., who maybe were taking it easy for a few weeks before they would come to these serious knockout games. Is that a realistic factor?
Yeah, I think so. And again, when I stood with Enrique last week, he's usually managers and players as well say, it's a game at a time, right? So you just focus on the next one. But even last week, he said already, or the week before, he said they still had one league game to be played and the French Cup final. But he said, I'm already watching Inter Milan. And he was not taking for granted the last game in the league and the one in the cup final. But he was already looking at Inter because they knew that this was the big one. They could have lost the title and lost the French Cup final as long as they're winning that Champions League final. This beats everything. This is the holy grail for the club. They've been waiting for it forever. That's another thing, Mina, that like destiny and I'm holding on. Spurs not winning a European trophy for 41 years. Newcastle, no trophy for 71. Crystal Palace, no trophy for 1hundred years. All of that.
If only Real Betis did it for you. If only Betis did it.
I wish Betis. I would have added. I had Betis on my list. But yeah, I think Conor, you're right, and also fitness-wise, I think it's important. We said this experience and kind of all the legs against youth and energy. But the fact that Inter had to fight hard until even last Friday to see if they could win the title or not, there was a possibility of a league playoff for them and Napoli to win the title. With PSG have been cleared for a long time, managed minutes, rested players. I mean, they were at Roland Garros, pretty much all that team on Sunday and Monday. That was not the case for Inter Milan players. So maybe for the last 20, 30 minutes of the final on Saturday, maybe that freshness that PSG should have a little bit more than Inter could have something to play in that final.
Isn't there a stat, Jules, that's not pointing towards a PSG win? Because I've only heard stats that are pointing towards PSG will win it. Do you have one against your team?
I'm sure there is, Chris.
He hasn't found them.
There must be somewhere. I'm just looking at all the positive as much as I can,
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to how you will manage those nerves on Saturday. What will your schedule look like and your rituals on a match day? Because, you're building up those nerves now by going to all those positives, I think. The hope is there, but hope might kill you. So
I know. So this is the fourth kit I'm wearing now, which is the lucky one, because I've been wearing it under the suit every Champions League game in the knockout stages all over. So the 2 Liverpool games, the 2 Villa games, the 2 Arsenal games, that it was under the shirt, under the suit. So it'll be the case again Saturday. The kids, 2 of the 3 kids are here, the 2 boys. My cousins are coming. My brother is in between either divorcing his wife and coming to the final or going on the holidays that they booked a long time ago and not making the final, but he'll be gutted forever, especially if we win. My best friend is driving in and out because there's no room anymore in Munich, and he can't stay with us because there's too many of us already here. So I don't know, man. If we win, it'd be the greatest night football-wise in the family. If we don't win, I think we're going to cry forever.
Okay, well, listen, we're very much looking forward to it. Live commentary of the Champions League final on 5 Live on Saturday night. Our build-up starts from 6:40. The kickoff is at 8. And, of course, all the reaction here on the Football Daily. Right, let's move on to Erik Ten Hag. He's got a new job. Can he rebuild his reputation in Germany? Because on Monday, Bayer Leverkusen confirmed that the former Manchester United boss is going to replace Xabi Alonso as head coach. Now, we're going to talk about Real Madrid in a moment. But, Jules, good move for Ten Hag?
I think it's a tough job. I think it's really tough to come after Xabi Alonso and what he did, especially last season with the unbeaten domestic double and then the Europa League final that they lost to Atalanta. But still, they had an incredible season. And even last season where they were not as good, but they could not have been as good as the first season, obviously, and still finishing second. And I just think for Ten Hag, considering Bayer Leverkusen are going to lose Frimpong and very shortly Florian Wirtz, maybe a bit of Schick or Boniface, I'm just not sure what kind of squad he will inherit it from. And I think it's a tough job. And I think for Bayer Leverkusen, it's a really bold pick to go for somebody who failed so much at United. I can't wait to see it happening because I think it could be an absolutely crash.
Remember what happened to Bayern Munich last year, hiring a manager that had failed at Burnley too. So there might be. We can't predict it, to be fair. But yeah, anyway, it's going to be a hard job, rebuilding job, to be fair, because they will lose at least, I think, 3-4 of their best players. So but anyway, there won't be a lot of pressure on him to perform. Maybe from the inside, yes, but from the outside, all the focus in Germany is usually on Bayern Munich media-wise, just like Manchester United, to be fair. So he will have less pressure, less questions at press conferences, whatever. He won't even have the pressure that he had at Ajax, for instance. Still, Holland's Manchester United also big pressure on it. So, he might suit well over there, but it's going to be a tough job, I think.
It feels to me that the fact that Ruben Amorim has struggled at Manchester United too, that just for me, Ten Hag's stock price goes up. The core problem might not necessarily have been him. If Amorim comes in and they finish in the top 4 and they win the Europa League, and we're all saying, well, Ten Hag was the problem, but surely this is. I mean, it's a huge moment for him to rebuild his reputation.
Yeah, I think so. I think that everything that you've mentioned is exactly true, because it seems like everyone who leaves Manchester United goes on to have quite a fruitful career. Whether it is, for example, Ten Hag did bring in Antony. It was completely panned, that transfer. He goes to Real Madrid, takes them to a final, their first most historic final in 118 years of their history. Then you've got Marcus Rashford, who did well, obviously, in Aston Villa. And McTominay then goes on to Napoli and wins the title. It seems like it's a bit of a poison chalice at the moment, that any player who does arrive at Manchester United, regardless of how good they are or how they performed previously to have attracted the interest, doesn't end up doing as well as you imagined them to be. And every coach has suffered. I mean, right now we're looking back and thinking, wow, Mourinho had such a good few seasons, even Solskjaer did. And it just seems to get progressively worse, regardless of how good the names are that are being employed. So I don't know whether we should judge coaches by their Manchester United experience. And I do think Ten Hag is familiar with the Bundesliga. He was coach of the fourth team for Bayern Munich as well, and did well to reach a final as well. So he's worked there. He understands German football, the language, the culture, everything to do with that. And I think Bayer Leverkusen as a whole is a very well-run club. And Simon Wolves has done such a great job in buying in players and ensuring that you've got youth as well as experience, a perfect blend within that team, always knows how to scout winning mentalities and knows the football landscape. So he's helped produce this wonderful project that I think Xabi Alonso did so well to develop and improve. I think Erik Ten Hag has all the qualities to do that. And I think this is the time that we start judging him, because Leverkusen is a club that's done really well, has a good project. Let's see what happens.
Right, speaking about tough tasks, it's going to be tough for Ten Hag, but is it going to be even more difficult for Xabi Alonso? Not only going to the huge club that is Real Madrid, but replacing the 3-time Champions League winner Carlo Ancelotti as well. Kristof, the size of the task for Alonso. We wish him well, but boy, this is a step up.
This is a step up, but it's the one he wants to do. I think everybody's been predicting, like even Jose Mourinho, like 6-7 years ago, was pointing at, if one of my players will become a top coach, it will be Xabi Alonso. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to the challenge. But that time, that team with Carlo Ancelotti, I think they needed somebody else, something else, somebody, a bit younger, I think, because you saw this season that the magic between Carlo and the team was gone in a way, I think, with the younger guys. But Real Madrid, that's the biggest club, and if they don't win the league, you basically, or they don't win the trophy, you failed. So Xabi Alonso knows what to do, but he knows the club, that's for sure, because he's been there as a player. So that might help to have that Hala Madrid feeling and know what pressure you will be on as a manager. So he knows the challenge he's for. And they are investing in their squad too. So they're making the squad younger. It looks like Real Madrid are going still a bit through that transition, that they were going bye-bye to all the older ones that, bye-bye to Luka Modric, for instance. That's one of the last men standing of the successful eras, like 7 years ago. So but it will be a tough task for sure. He will be under pressure if he loses one game, to be fair. So
it's a fair point about, he has to win silverware. It doesn't matter who you are in that job. Do you think, Jules, the expectations slightly helped though, compared to, say, 12 months ago? Because a year ago, Alonso had won the Bundesliga with Leverkusen. Real Madrid had won La Liga, Champions League. It would have been, right, we absolutely demand trebles here. The fact that they've, both, cooled down a little bit, does that help the expectations? Or is Madrid just, massive expectations regardless?
No, I think what helps him as well is that everybody recognise now that it's a rebuilding job. Whoever would have come in after Carlo, it's a rebuilding job, right? This team is not good enough collectively to compete in the Champions League, as we saw against Arsenal. They were well beaten over the two legs, and I think it has to come with less pressure now, because his job is not keep winning and winning, because this team was quite bad this season. Barca destroyed them, Arsenal destroyed them. You have to rebuild this squad. Hence, Carrera's arriving, pretty much done. Huysen already there, Trent on his way. Probably somewhere in midfield, they will have some reinforcement, because they need to rebuild this squad. And as you said, Lucas Vazquez is leaving, Modric is leaving, Carlos leaving. What about Rodrigo? So there's a lot of things are going to happen this season, and this summer, And then he will be the guy in charge of rebuilding job. And then with Real Madrid, you always have to win anyway. But at least people understand now and know, okay, there's a lot of work for him to do now. So maybe a bit less pressure, because even he can say, this is year one of my project, and I really took the team quite low, in the sense that I had to give this team another identity, different style of football, being more collective, more cohesion, which we haven't really, as much as we all love Carlo, like Kristof said, this season, they were just not at it. Let's be honest here. They were, especially in top games, they were not at it. So I guess probably less pressure for him because of that, because it's a rebuilding job, which is not easy and cannot come with the pressure. Nobody expects him to win the quadruple next season. That's not going to happen.
We've got to say goodbye to Jules. Jules, quick question. If PSG win on Saturday, are you going to retire the shirt, or will that then even more be the lucky shirt for every game going forward? Will it ever be washed?
That's such a great question, Colin, because I think I was going to have the players sign it all and be forever the memory of Munich 2025. But you're right. Actually, I might just keep it and wear it every single time I cover a PSG game.
Excellent. Wow. We look forward to talking to you on Saturday. Thanks, Jules.
Thank you, guys. Cheers.
Right, let's take you through some of the other stories across European football this season. Now, on Friday, Napoli were crowned champions of Italy with their 2-0 win over Calgary. What a week it's been. What a season. What a year for Scott McTominay. He wins Serie A in his first campaign in Italy. He's named the MVP for the league. He spent the weekend appearing in various different nightclubs across Naples, and it all ended, as any good night out does, with a visit to the Vatican on Tuesday. I was reading Emlyn Begley's piece about McTominay on the BBC Sport website. He's had a shrine built in his honour. People in Naples are getting his face tattooed on their bodies. Napoli fans even starting to wear kilts. Mina, this is going to go down as one of the best moves any player has ever made in football.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, to win MVP on his first season at the club, for Napoli to win only their fourth ever Scudetto after managing those great two with Maradona. I mean, he's making history. This guy has become a legendary, and not just for the goals that he scored, but how much he's ingrained himself into the Neapolitan culture, how involved he is, how much he's trying to speak Italian in his interviews, even though he can't. He'll say certain words, whether it's troppo alto or whatever it is, he'll throw that in. He's totally embraced all the nicknames that he's been handed, like McFrateme. This man
what does the nickname mean?
McFrateme, brother in the Neapolitan accent, and they put Mc before everything. So, you know, to honor his Scottish heritage.
And Kristof, you might have a whole other Belgian angle at Napoli this season to keep you very much interested with them.
Well, Kevin De Bruyne only basically has to sign the contract and has to do his medical test, I guess. He's given his word to Napoli at the end of last week when, basically the family gave his yes, we're moving there. For Kevin De Bruyne, it was, he's always been hoping to stay another season at Manchester City. He was surprised that they didn't offer him a new contract. And then he had that, like they call in Italian, that grinta. He wanted to prove himself one more time that he could play at the top level. So he played a few good games for City at the end of the season, and then there suddenly was that phone call from Giovanni Mina, the sporting director of Napoli, and he immediately was convinced by the project that they presented. Also because you have that Belgian angle there. Romelu Lukaku is a good friend of his. And then you have Dries Mertens, who's become a legend at Napoli between 2014 and 22, I think, when he left. And he's basically, everybody's expecting Mertens to retire from football after he became champions with Galatasaray now. And he's moving back to Napoli. So you have three Belgians that are really close to each other in the same city. And then Mrs. De Bruyne also like Napoli because they've been married in the area, so they would love the son, the kids. They had to. The most important thing was finding a good school for the kids. They found the American school in Napoli because the kids grew up in England and they're speaking better English than Dutch, I think. So they had to find a place where the kids felt at ease. So the American school convinced them too. So now they're set to move over there, and it's just waiting for the deal to get done. So it can happen in the next 24 hours. It can last for 2-3 weeks, but his mind is set on Napoli, and everybody knows he's moving there.
So Mina, if Conte goes, presumably it's to Juventus. What's the knock-on effect? What happens then?
So this is the thing. I mean, the rumors have been talking about Conte wanting to go back to Juventus, with the Juventus management desperate to bring him back in. Now, sporting director Cristiano Giuntoli doesn't seem to be a huge fan of bringing Antonio Conte in. And there's all these rumors that Giuntoli will vacate his position. There's Damien Comoli being linked now to take over the role in Juventus as a wider restructuring at top level. And Conte is the first idea. They just want to bring him back. Now, if he is to go there, but obviously the project is still hasn't been figured out. There's all these problems right now with some of the players they invested in, not really showing us what they're worth, or whether or not they're worthy of this shirt. If Antonio Conte was to leave and go back to Juventus, then Max Allegri, the former Juventus coach, will then go to Napoli, and he's being offered 6 million to join this club, which I think is brilliant because that's sort of the stepping stone of what Juventus did. Bring in Antonio Conte, then bring Allegri to do something special in the Champions League. So it's almost like the same copy and paste. What Inter did, what Napoli did, is just basically trying to mimic a little bit of what Juventus did to start their dynasty at the time. And now the question is that AC Milan are also looking for a coach and now negotiating with Allegri too. Roma have shown an interest in Allegri, but I don't think that's going to happen. And now there are question marks as to whether or not Inzaghi will keep his job at Inter or whether he will leave. And then Allegri would also be an option for Inter. So I'm interested to see which one says no and yes and where it's going to go. But it all starts with Antonio Conte's decision, and then the dominoes will fall.
And Kristof, we'll move on to Belgium. New champions, Union Saint-Gilloise, have ended their 90-year wait for a Belgian championship win. What sort of impact is all that having?
Well, it's a lot of clubs have become really the traditional champions in Belgium, like Club Brugge and Anderlecht. They've been looking at the Union Saint-Gilloise as they are now the team that is the most advanced in everything, basically. Like they had people in England who don't know the story yet. The team was bought a few years ago by Tony Bloom, the Brighton owner. He invested in it, and then he got removed from their list of directors and owners because of European football. But he was still there for the last 3 games and celebrating with them. So he still thinks it's his project. And they took they're working with the data that Brighton are using. And as Belgian football wasn't that advanced in data as yet, they had that huge advantage of finding strange players in the German 3rd division and turning them into stars. So they always did good things in the transfer market, and they've been there like now for 3 years. They were competing for the title, and now for the first time they did it. Everybody was expecting them to choke like they did in the last few seasons when they always gave away an advantage. But now they were basically at the start of a strange system of the playoffs. They were the chasers, and the chaser took over, and with really realistic style of football, and with a young manager that hadn't been into first team management before this season, former Belgian international and former Brighton player Sebastian Pocognoli had a brief spell over there, but he's called now the Belgian Diego Simeone, basically, because he likes to wear a nice dark suit. And if you look at his gestures at the sideline, he reminds you of Diego Simeone, and they had they were quite aggressive during the playoffs in their style of play. So then those Simeone comparisons are easily made because they were well organized, and on the counter-attack they hit everybody. So it was a surprising chapter, but it's a nice story because not a lot of fans of Union Saint-Gilloise have had that title feeling. That we found our newspaper in Belgium found one who was I think 2 years old in 1935 when they won their first title. It was a pub owner, and he said, "I will be very, very, very drunk when we win it again." So there are still fans he didn't celebrate that title when he was 2 years old, but he says, "I know that there was a title." So there's only one fan left that lifted the title.
Right, happy Champions League final week to us all. Let's hope we all enjoy it. Thanks so much to Mina and to Kristof. And the EuroLeagues will be back next week to review the season and to look ahead to the summer as well. The Football Daily is going to bring you all the latest reaction from Munich and the Champions League final across the weekend. You can listen to live commentary on 5 Live on Saturday night. Coverage starts from 6:40. Steve Crossman will be back in the chair for that one inside the stadium. Bye for now.
The Football Daily Podcast on BBC Sounds.